Division, I'm Melanie. Thanks so much for clicking. To my returning family, the Visionaries, thank you for your continuous love and support. If you're new to my channel, welcome. Please feel at home. Have you had an opportunity to subscribe to the channel yet? If not, take a second, hit subscribe, and please don't forget to like and share. Before we jump right in, I want to take this opportunity to wish each and every one of you a very happy new year. May 2024 be filled with happiness, good health, and prosperity for you all. And as the new year unfolds, there's going to be a lot of excitement on the political landscape across the globe. There'll be elections in the United States, Russia, Namibia, and even in South Africa. So what does this mean? It means there's going to be a lot of noise on all the media platforms. So as consumers of media, you and I have a big job to do. We need to read between the lines. We need to be able to identify the difference between fact and fiction, information and misinformation, insight, opinions, and so much more. But we need to understand also what groups of individuals are going to be making the noise. First and foremost, it's going to be the political parties, of course. They're going to take advantage of all the political opportunities in the media to talk about their platforms. They're going to use many different strategies to get your votes. Everything from hosting many events for you to come out and join them, to learn about what they are going to be talking about and why you should vote for them, as well as free giveaways, things to incite you, to get you to vote. And some political parties will even stoop to the level of inciting fear amongst their supporters. Oh yes. And one of the political parties that are really good at this is South Africa's Democratic Alliance. I'm going to play a clip of what I'm talking about so that you and I can analyze it together. But I really want you to pay attention to the language he's using as well as his point of privilege. Let's take a listen.
There is one risk that above all else threatens the future of both my family and yours. And that is the increasingly realistic prospect of an alliance between the ANC and the EFF taking power next year. Given the fact that the ANC now officially co-governs with the EFF in parts of Gauteng, we need to start taking the threat of these parties ganging up to destroy our country in 2024 very, very seriously. And I want to be unequivocal about the DA's view on this. The day that an ANC-EFF government takes over, it will be doomsday for South Africa. And let me tell you, EFF doomsday will make the collapse of Zimbabwe look like a dress rehearsal. And it will leave all South Africans, black, colored, white and Indian, completely destitute and abandoned. And that is why, during the remaining months before next year's election, the DA will also make it our #1 priority and do absolutely everything in our power to prevent an ANC-EFF doomsday coalition from taking power. Over the past 30 years, the ANC has proven itself to be the opponent of progress in our country. But make no mistake, the EFF is its enemy. The EFF Doomsday Coalition will expropriate property without compensation and abolish private property rights. The EFF Doomsday Coalition will nationalize and destroy foreign banks, investments, mines and other investments in the country. The EFF Doomsday Coalition will plunge this country into ethnic and racial conflict, the likes of which has never been witnessed before. And the cold, hard truth is that the Doomsday Coalition between the ANC and the EFF has already taken over Johannesburg and Ekurhuleni with the help of its little proxies. Next year, it will be knocking on the doors of the union buildings, right next door from us in Pretoria. This fact should send a shiver down the spines of every patriot and every freedom-loving person in this country.
I always wondered why political parties would stoop to inciting fear amongst their supporters. And after listening to what the leader has said, I understand why. He talked about how he was talking about the doomsday of the alliance between coalition ANC and EFF. He hit on topics that members of his supporters of his party who are coming from a point of privilege are afraid of. The land, nationalization of banks and mines. He also threw in the event of Zimbabwe to stir the pot and even get more fear simulating in their support. But what really made me pause and ponder was the fact that he had the nerve to talk about freedom-loving citizens, patriots, as if only his members are those people. And talking about how the EFF is enemy number one and how they'll be knocking on the union doors beside them in Pretoria. Really? Wow. But what I don't think he understands is, yes, he may be speaking for people coming from a point of privilege, but he doesn't understand that fear doesn't work for everyone. Another group of individuals we're going to hear a lot from this year are political analysts. Now we need to remember political analysts do a lot of reading, a lot of research. They take the polls, the stats, and they analyze the data. Then of course, they throw in their own perspective, their opinions. And recently I heard a South African political analyst, Dr. Harvey, with his perspective on what to expect in 2024. Let's take a listen.
Landscape. What for you stood out in the world of politics, starting with perhaps the 10-year anniversary of the third largest party in the country, and of course, in the latter part of the year, the former President Jacob Zuma backing the MK party and announcing that he would not and could not vote for the ANC or even campaign for it, heading to the elections?
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity, and Happy New Year to you and to the viewers. Look, I listened to what you said and the today's discussion, but there's a whole number of major issues that I don't think has been mentioned, which for me has significance, political significance about 2023. But on top of it all, believe me, and I've been writing about the EFF quite a lot recently, I think the EFF is one party that you need to look out for very, very carefully in this 2024 election. I have little doubt that the EFF is going to go way beyond the 10-11% that it obtained in 2019. And you're looking at 15, 20, and even more percent. Significantly, you must remember that Jimmy Mani was the chairman of the Zuma Foundation, threw in his lot with Carl Neos, abandoned RITA, the Radical Economic Transformation Alliance, threw in his lot with the EFF. Now, you must remember that when Mani joined, Julius Malema said, Zuma, we are waiting for you. So what happened was, I really had foreseen, when there was this dramatic announcement going to be made by Zuma a couple of weeks ago, I thought it's that he's going to throw in his lot with the EFF, because you look at the people who've gone to the EFF have been very close to Imani, Carl Neos, and so on, and this has surprised us. And now look at this past weekend. I think this is going to throw a spanner in the works of the ANC's vote next year. Already they're sitting with the biggest crisis ever. And if you look at the significant turnout over this past weekend in KZN, it's Zuma's home base, and no matter what you have to say about corruption, he's very, very popular in KZN. Now it's very clear that this is a party that's going to be reckoned with. Where they're going to get the funding, what their policies are, we don't know. But I believe that Zuma entering the fray with the MK party and effectively decampaigning the ANC, it's a stark contradiction, however, when he can say that he'll die ANC, and yet he is voting for the MK party, and he's calling on the electorate, you must note, he calls on the electorate to also vote for the MK party. So I think it's going to dent the ANC support. There's no doubt, particularly in KZN, that, a lot of things could happen in KZN, and I think the biggest challenge for the ANC in a province is in KZN with the MK party. But a whole lot of things have happened in 2000, and I noticed that for me it's a major political development, but you don't mention it. What has happened or not happened to Ramaphosa's Pala case is very significant, and this is how he's entering the 2024 elections. You remember what he also had to say about the Zondo Commission of Inquiry report, that he's waiting for the report and he promised to implement it? What has happened? Nothing has happened. Protecting ministers who've been fingered seriously in his cabinet 5 months to go before the elections. He's taken no action against him. No action has been taken against him, despite the Arthur Fraser charges and despite the independent parliamentary panel's report. We find a prima facie case against Ramaphosa. And instead, the ANC rallied their forces and they prevented even a discussion and debate in Parliament. Those are major developments,
Yeah.
and I'm certain to my mind that it's going to negatively impact. You can see Ramaphosa's running all of them, and he got the Reserve Bank and the SARS, to also basically, collude with his version, of events.
Dr. Harvey, to that point then, let's then talk about where the opportunities lie for opposition parties. I mean, when one considers just the speculations in terms of the demise of the ANC and how it might dip below 50%, and to your point, issues like the Phala Phala one, it doesn't help the ANC. I mean, how then should opposition parties align themselves and, do what they want to do in terms of defeating the ANC? I mean, will it take the Moonshot Pact or the Multi-Party Charter and others to do so? What should the strategy be here for them?
Well, the DA is the principal part of this Moonshot Pact. If you're talking 80%, it will be the loyal DA supporters who will vote for that pact. There's very little else to that. There may be action, essay, and so on, but I really don't foresee them making major strides in this election. There's one organization, I believe, possibly, if not probably, I think he's going to do even better than the Moonshot Pact DA-controlled and dominated alliance, and that is the EFF. I really think, and Malema senses it, you can see how they are talking, the new governing party, and it's for almost a year now. The kind of confidence that he projects that they're going to supplant the ANC in next year's election. I don't think you must treat it very lightly, really. I think if there's one party who is having sleepless nights, they're strategizing, they're really going all out to win that election, is the EFF. I don't think they're going to win it, but certainly you're looking at 20+%. Which will be the biggest score that they've ever made, since they entered the election scene. I don't think that you're going to have, a formidable challenge, because that Moonshot Pact to me consists of little more than the DA and maybe Action SA. These all small little parties. I really don't think they're going to make a major dent in that coalition. So if you're talking about replacing the ANC and posing a direct challenge and threat to the ANC, besides what is going to come in that direction from its own internal crisis, don't underestimate Zuma throwing in his lot to the MK, decampaigning the ANC, Mavuso Msimang resigning and then coming back. All those things, I believe, in the final analysis, is going to weigh to some extent against the ANC. I think the guys who really stand to gain much in this election is going to be the EFF. Basically, that is my reading of the current situation regarding prospects of the opposition unseating the ANC in the 2024 election.
I really appreciated how he spoke about many of the different political parties, including MK, ANC, and especially how the DA coalition and the EFF were going to do in his perspective. And I realized why the DA leader is so afraid and speaking from fear. And that is because the writing's on the wall. He hears what the political analysts are saying, that the EFF are going to do very well in this year's elections. But as consumers of media, we have to also remember the political analysts throw in their opinions and perspectives. So we need to listen to many different perspectives from different political analysts to see if they're saying the same thing or if perhaps they're a little biased. Another group of people making a lot of noise this year are going to be the individuals, the voters, the people on the ground. We're going to hear many different perspectives. Some you may agree with, others you may not. I encourage you to listen to them all because you'll learn something. You may think of something outside of the box that you hadn't considered before. I came across a video of a woman from South Africa sharing her perspective, and I was a little bit surprised. Let's take a listen and come back and analyze.
Is Malema an extremely intelligent human being? He is a brilliant politician. white people fear him for two reasons. The first is that the media portrays Julius in a very specific way. They will take things that he has said out of context and go, look at this crazy person. Oh my God. How dare he threaten white people, blah, 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 blah. And when you zoom out and you actually go listen to what he said, he makes sense. Okay. And second, and I believe the second reason that white people fear Julius is that he questions the status quo. He is actively fighting to change what is going on in this country. And a lot of white people are very comfortable with what's going on in this country. They have power, they have privilege, they have everything that they want. Okay, and I don't mean individual white people before you come here and go, I don't have a job, why do you call me that? If it doesn't apply to you, just shut up and listen. Because when we talk about privilege, particularly white privilege, we talk about a response that people have to you socially. Before we talk about possessions and whatnot, we talk about a response socially. The assumption that a white person is more educated, the assumption that a white person has more moral values and acts more ethically. So yeah, Malema scares people because he challenges the status quo and because he's been portrayed in a very specific light. I have a lot of respect for Julius Malema, and I think more people should listen to what he has to say. So, in case you haven't noticed, I'm white. And also, in case you don't know this, ek is Afrikaans. Ek is 'n boerekind. So I am the exact demographic that you are claiming needs to be protected. The rights of the minority in South Africa is not in danger. This fear that white people, particularly white Afrikaans people, have is that black people will do unto us as we did to them. But we still have the majority of the power in South Africa. And the thing is, once people start realizing this, and once people start going, hey, maybe we should rectify some of these things, instead of just pretending that it's all over, and going, you know what, I am privileged. The fight's over. Once things are rectified, there's no need to infringe on the rights of others. The reason that we are still talking about this, and the reason that white people are so afraid of black people taking vengeance, is because white people know that things haven't been fixed. But they're also scared of things being fixed because they'll lose their privilege. You're not afraid of your rights being taken away. You are afraid of losing your privilege.
It took a lot of courage for her to share her perspective because it's not necessarily the status quo. I really appreciate the fact she talked about the fear. She talked about what people are afraid of and how privilege plays a big part. But she also showed, despite herself being a white woman, Afrikaans in fact, that it's okay to have a different perspective, to think outside the box and listen to other opportunities and perspectives. She spoke highly of Julius Malema and his perspective, and she spoke her truth. I personally think she hit the nail on the head in this perspective, and she spoke to her truth and what many people in South Africa are listening to. I also applaud her for her courage to speak up against people who may not agree with her. And this is what's important for us to all listen to the different perspectives of the people on the ground because they're living their truth. I encourage us all to take a listen to all three of these clips. I'd love to hear your thoughts and ideas. Drop them in the comments below and let's have a conversation, as well as I'd love to hear your perspective of what you think is going to happen in 2024 in the elections in South Africa. Let's have a conversation, and until next time, please don't forget to hit the notification button, like and share, and we'll see you later. Bye.